All right, fantasy managers, let's talk week one. Probably left some of you feeling a bit, well, maybe scrambling, right? Maybe a star player didn't quite deliver, or some random guy went off. Happens every year. But look, the season moves fast. You got to adapt. So are you staring at your roster thinking, okay, what now? How do I fix this? Oh. Well, welcome to USA Sports Zone. This is where we try to cut through all that noise and just get you the info you need to win your league. And hell, if you like what you hear, maybe hit that subscribe button real quick. We'd appreciate it. Today, we are hitting the waiver wire hard for week two. We're focusing on guys rostered in less than 60% of leagues, the potential game changers. Yeah, and it's really important, I think, to look past just who scored points last week. It's about finding guys with real opportunities, good matchups coming up. Sustainability is key, right? Not just chasing ghosts. We need to figure out why someone performed and if it's likely to happen again. That's the strategy part.
Okay, yeah, good point. So let's maybe look at some top priorities overall first, then we can drill down by position. What's immediately grabbing your attention from the week one fallout?
Well, what's really interesting is how some kind of unexpected guys stepped up immediately. You look at running backs like Charbonnet, maybe Dylan Sampson, and Marquise Brown at receiver. It's not just that they played well. It signals maybe a bigger role or, shift in how their team wants to use them.
Yeah.
Got to spot those trends early.
Okay, let's start with quarterbacks then. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good in that first half week one. What's that mean going into week two against, well, let's just say a Bengals defense that tends to leak points?
Lawrence is he's a really strong option, especially if you're in a 2 QB or Superflex league. That first half showed his timing, hitting the middle. That's where Cincy struggles. Yeah, the second half was more conservative, but that matchup week two, it's just too good to ignore for a potential bounce back. But, it does make you think about Michael Penix Jr. too. His value is so tied to Drake London being healthy. If London's out again, Penix becomes much riskier.
Right. And then there's Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, sure, but his air yards per attempt were the lowest in the league week one, short passes mostly.
Right.
Can he still put up those big fantasy numbers?
Look, he still threw 4 touchdowns, didn't he?
Wow.
Showed he can still get it done near the goal line. And he's got a home game against Seattle's defense, which kind of struggled against the pass. So, yeah, I think he's a very solid QB2. Maybe not elite upside every week, but dependable. And, hey, don't sleep on Geno Smith either. 362 yards in his Raiders debut. That puts him back on the map even if week two is tougher. Shows the offense can move.
Okay, moving over to running backs. Charbonnet. It really looks like Seattle's serious about this being a 1A, 1B thing with Kenneth Walker. That makes things interesting, doesn't it? Especially for people needing a flex.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, this might be the very last week you can grab Charbonnet off waivers if he's still there somehow. He's going to be seen as at least a flex play against that Steelers D that just got, destroyed on the ground week one. Plus, he catches passes. That helps the floor. Also, Dylan Sampson for the Browns. Kind of a surprise leader in carries and catches. Looks like the main guy there, for now at least, until Judkins gets activated, even with Raheem Sanders maybe getting goal line looks.
What about Bashal Tutin? The Tank Bigsby trade definitely opens up a spot behind Etienne.
Yeah. Tutin's role, his snaps, they're going to go up right away. He becomes the clear handcuff to Etienne. And you look at his college numbers, his speed, he's definitely worth a speculative add, especially in deeper leagues. There's upside there if Etienne misses any time.
All right, wide receivers now. Marquise Brown. 16 targets, 10 catches. I mean, wow, that's just massive volume.
It really is. And now with Xavier Worthy sidelined, Mahomes is probably going to look his way even more. Yeah, there's always the injury risk with Brown, but you just can't ignore that kind of target share. He's an immediate add, period. And speaking of opportunity, Quentin Johnston for the Chargers. 2 touchdowns, shows Herbert trusts him near the end zone. And he gets the Raiders next week, which is a pretty decent matchup.
Okay, and Kayshon Boutte over in New England, what's the story developing there?
Boutte's kind of quietly building something with Drake May, it seems.
Yeah.
Over 100 yards against that Pats defense, which everyone thought was much improved. It's impressive. He's definitely worth taking a shot on, a flyer pick, especially because he gets the Dolphins next. That secondary can be beaten. And for really deep leagues, maybe look at Calvin Austin III, showed some juice. Cedric Tillman ran a lot more routes than expected. Promising usage anyway.
Let's switch it up. Tight ends, always tricky. Harold Fannin Jr. starting to get some serious buzz.
Oh yeah, the Fannin hype train is rolling. Led the Browns, 9 targets. 9. And he's technically the backup to Njoku. His college profile suggests this isn't just a one-week thing. It looks like Cleveland actually wants to use both tight ends. Pretty interesting. Also, don't forget Juwan Johnson and Hunter Henry. Both saw good target numbers, played a lot of snaps, solid streaming options for week 2 if you need one. And maybe a super deep sleeper, Jake Tungus, but only if George Kittle happens to be out.
Okay, last up, defenses. Anyone looking particularly good for Week 2 stream?
Yeah, the Los Angeles Rams, they played great against Houston, kept them out of the end zone, tied for third in fantasy points, I think. And now they get the Titans with a rookie QB, Cam Ward, who looked kind of shaky. That makes the Rams, for me, the top streaming D this week. The Dallas Cowboys, too, they get the Giants offense, which, well, hasn't looked great. Good spot for sacks and turnovers there.
So wrapping it all up then, the waiver wire is definitely buzzing after Week 1. Making those smart adds now could really set you up for the rest of the season.
It really forces you to look deeper, doesn't it? Beyond the obvious names. Which kind of leads to a question for you listening. Who's that maybe less obvious guy? That high-usage player with a good matchup that you're targeting this week? Finding that gem can make all the difference.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on USA Sports Zone. Hopefully this look at the waiver wire helps you crush your league this week. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. We'll catch you next time.